Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth lecture on the course Mathematic Modeling and Simulation. In this lecture, we will see about the classifications of mathematical models. So I will discuss what is linear and what is non-linear mathematical model, deterministic versus stochastic, static versus dynamic, discrete versus continuous, and lastly macroscopic versus microscopic. So let's begin with linear versus non-linear. So as you know that the mathematical models are composed of variables and the operators that act on these variables, which can be algebraic operators, functions, differential operators, etc. Now, if all the operators in the mathematical model exhibit linearity, then we say the resulting mathematical model is defined as linear. So, it is important to understand that if the operator in the mathematical model exhibit linearity, then we can say that it is a linear mathematical model. Otherwise, the model is said to be non-linear. Now, for example, if you consider a mathematical programming model, now if the objective functions and the constraints are entirely represented by the linear equations, then the model is regarded as linear model. Now, if one or more objective functions or constraints are represented by a non-linear equation, then the model is said to be non-linear. I will now discuss an example of the linear model. This will be an example of linear differential equation. I hope you all must be aware of what is linear differential equations. In linear differential equations, as I have told in my previous lectures on differential equations, like there should not be multiplications of dependent variable and a derivative, and also all the derivatives and the dependent variable must be in degree 1. So this is not allowed, and all the degrees of the derivative and the dependent variable must be 1. As we all know that we live in the changing world, and to describe how the things change, we often end up with differential equation. So we will see one example of a rabbit population where I denote P as a population of rabbit at time t and dp by dt as a population's rate of change. Now it is obvious to think that the rate of change of population is proportional to the population at that instant. That means that if I write it as mathematically, this means that dp by dt, that is rate of change of population, is directly proportional to the population at that instant. Now if we remove this proportionality sign, we will get this constant r. So this one is called as the growth rate. If you do the dimension analysis, this p, you can say it has a dimension of density, and this t has the dimension of time. So r will have the dimension. If I write dimension of r, this should be t inverse. Now this simple differential equation is also a very good model for detecting the tumor growth at the earliest stage. So you can see that how useful mathematical equations are. Now if we talk about non-linear model, we will extend this model. As you know that the solid tumors initially grow rapidly, like in the initial stage it will grow rapidly, but it deaccelerate as the tumor size grows bigger. So when the tumor size goes bigger, you will see that the growth rate begins to deaccelerate. Therefore it is more realistic to consider per capita rate of the tumor growth depends on the tumor size, and it is not constant. So we can model it like this: dc by dt, the c is the concentration of the tumor. So you can see that if the tumor volume size is very much less to this c, which is the carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is what? The amount which an environment can hold. So if our tumor volume is very much less than this carrying capacity, then what will happen? This will be approximately equal to 1, and you can see that the growth rate will be approximately exponential. But however, if the tumor growth rate size approaches to the carrying capacity, then this term will approximately go to 0 and the tumor growth rate is impeded. So if you see this graph, this is for different values of lambda. You can see that it is the value of the tumor is approaching the carrying capacity. So if the growth rate is more, you can see that it will reach the carrying capacity at a very lower time. This one is a time coordinate, and you can easily see that if the growth rate is high, the tumor will reach its maximum limit at very less time, and if my lambda is small, that is my growth rate is small, the maximum size will be reached at the higher time. And if we can decrease this lambda, you can see that our time for increase in the maximum limit will increase. So this was example of linear and non-linear. Now we will discuss what is the difference between the deterministic, we can also say it as compartmental model, versus probabilistic or stochastic model. So as you know, in deterministic model, the output of the model is fully determined by the parameter values and initial conditions. So you can say that deterministic models always have a set of equations that describe the system's input and output exactly, and it describes what happens on average on the population. So you can say that for deterministic, if you give the same input, you will get the same output. So it is like it does not contains any randomness. If you put the same initial condition, if you feed your model with the same initial conditions and parameter value, your output will be known and you will get the same output again and again. There will be no variation. So this type of model is called as deterministic or compartmental model. Now there are few advantages of using deterministic model. What are they? The benefit is simplicity, and it relies on the single assumption about the long-term average. So it gives us the idea about what will happen on average in the population. Also deterministic are easier to understand. Now we will see what is stochastic models. So the stochastic model are the model which represents a situation where the uncertainty is present. Now stochastic model forecasts the probability of various outcomes under different conditions using random variables. In stochastic modeling, the prediction of the outcome has certain level of uncertainty or randomness. It provides all range of possible outcomes. So we can say that it is opposite to the deterministic modeling. And as I have already told you that the deterministic model gives the same exact result for every particular set of input values, but stochastic modeling we have certain level of unpredictability or randomness in our output. So if we talk about the example, Monte Carlo simulation is a one of the best example of the stochastic model. Now what is this Monte Carlo? So the name refers to the Monte Carlo cities in Monaco, which was known for its casino and gambling. But you can say that Monte Carlo simulations are simulation involving randomness. Let's watch one video which will give you a better idea about the Monte Carlo simulation.
In the simulation we have a sort of marble dropping device that moves around randomly above this rectangular table and drops marbles. And on the table there are two bowls, one with a square cross-section and one with a circular cross-section. And each of these bowls is placed on some sort of scale, which displays how many marbles are in each bowl at this time. And if we let the simulation evolve for a while, and then divide the number of marbles in the circular bowl by the number of marbles in the square bowl, the result happens to be roughly pi. Without any advanced math knowledge, simply by randomly dropping marbles into two bowls, we can estimate pi.
So what happened over here? We did Monte Carlo simulation by dropping the balls into these two boxes randomly, and after a long time we counted how many balls dropped in these boxes, and then we found out the ratio. So we can say that, as we know that area of square, or you can say area of circle, which is equal to pi a square, and area of square I can write it as a square. So here you can see that I am getting out the value of pi. So this is what a power of Monte Carlo simulation, that you do simulations randomly and you can get amazing results out of it. So now if we talk about what is Monte Carlo simulation, this I will cover up in coming lectures. I will give you a complete description about the Monte Carlo simulation, and we will also do some programming on it. As I have used this word, I will just give you a definition of what is Monte Carlo simulation. So these are the simulation used to model the probability of different outcomes in the process that cannot be easily predicted due to interventions of random variables. It is mainly a technique used to understand the impact of risk and uncertainty in prediction and forecasting model. A Monte Carlo simulation can be used to tackle a range of problems in virtually every field, such as finance, engineering, supply chain, and science. So it can be also referred as multiple probability simulation. So you can say that Monte Carlo is mainly used as synonym for randomness, and these are simulations evolving randomly. Now we will see the difference between static and dynamic model. So what is a dynamic model? The dynamic model refers to the system that changes over time. For example, I will write a couple of differential equation. You can see that if we write a model using differential equation, this system changes over time. So this is a kind of dynamic model. Now if we talk about a static model calculates the system equilibrium, and thus it is a time invariant. So the steady state in the dynamic model is an example of a static model. For example, if I write dp by dt is equal to r into p 1 minus p by k. So if I find the equilibrium point, now what is the equilibrium point? Equilibrium point is a point where dp by dt is 0. So this implies my rp 1 minus p by k equal to 0, and this implies my p is equal to 0 or p equal to k. So what will happen if my p equal to 0 and p equal to k? You can see that in this case my dp by dt, if my p is equal to 0 and my p is equal to k, my rate of change of this population will be equal to 0. That means that it becomes time invariant. If you start with these populations, your system will not change forever. If you start, you can see that if I start with the initial condition as with the carrying capacity, it will remain, the population will remain equal to k for all future time. Similarly, if we start at p is equal to 0, our population will remain at this position for infinite time. So it becomes time invariant. So this was an example of the steady state in a dynamic model. This one is sure a complete one is a dynamic model, but the steady states, these are the steady state. This we can say that these are the static model. Now we can give one more example, that is of the market equilibrium, assuming a linear behavior of supply and demand with price. As you know that the price is determined in a free market by interaction of supply and demand, and we have three rules determining the price of a product, which the first one is when the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied, the price tends to rise. This is logical that when we have a higher demand then the quantity that is supplied, we have increase in price, and when the quantity supplied is greater than the quantity demanded, then price tends to fall. The second rule is that in a market, the larger the difference between the quantity supplied and the quantity demanded, the greater is the pressure on the price to rise or fall. And the third one is when the quantity supplied equals the quantity demanded, the price have no tendency to change. So as you can see that all these three things can be written mathematically as this P S is for supply, D is for demand, and P is price, and these all are A, B, C, D are the parameters determining like how with what percentage the price is increasing or decreasing. So here you can see the graph also, that if you see that when the price of the product is OP1 and the demand is low and the price is high, then what will happen? If you can see the supply at this price is OQ2, means supply is more, demand is less, and the price is high, there is a price fall pressure on the market, so the price will fall down. Now in the second case you can see that when the price is low and the quantity which is demand, here it is for the demand line, this is supply line, so when the price is low you can see that this much quantity is demanded and you can see that this much quantity is supplied. So here the market will have a price increase pressure, but at this point you can see this is the equilibrium point, which is called as market equilibrium, when the supply and the demands are equal and the prices will not have the tendency to change forever. So this one is a static state for this problem. So I hope now the static and dynamic models are clear. Now we will see difference between a continuous and discrete models. A mathematical model of time dependent process can be split into two categories. So if we have a mathematical model of a time dependent process, it can be split into two categories depending on how time variables are to be treated. So in continuous time mathematical model, it is based on the set of equations which are valid for any value of time variable. So this is important, that this one is valid for any value of time variable. For example, if we want to model the amount of water flow through a dam through a differential equation, this is an example of a continuous model. However, in the discrete time mathematical model, it is mainly designed to provide information about the state of the system only at a selected set of time. So here it is a difference, it is valid for all the time variable and it is designed only to give information at the selected set of time. For example, the models that are used by computers, and if we want to model the number of customer arrival at the different times, that is comes under the discrete model, as we are getting information only at the selected set of times. So if we see the solution of the continuous time model provides information about the physical system over a continuum of time values. However, in discrete model provide information about the physical system at the finite number of time values. A continuous model have two advantages over discrete model. Let us see what are they. They provide information at all the times, and secondly, they more clearly show the qualitative effect which can be expected when a parameter or an input variable is changed. So if we change a parameter or variable in our model, what type of qualitative changes a system will have, it is more clearly seen in the continuous time model. And also the discrete models have two advantages over the continuous system. We require less skills in algebra, trigonometry and calculation to handle these type of discrete models, and they are better suited for implementation on a computer. Now we will see the difference between microscopic versus macroscopic. So what are macroscopic model? These type of modeling words are used mainly to model the traffic flow. We will talk about the traffic flow modeling in a coming section, but here we will just understand what is the difference between a macroscopic model and a microscopic model. So macroscopic model considers the aggregate behavior. So this is important, that it considers the aggregate behavior of a traffic flow. If we want to give a biological metaphor to it, the traffic flow can be treated as a flow of a fluid in an artery. However, in the microscopic traffic flow, the modeling focuses on the minute aspects of the traffic, like vehicle to vehicle interaction and individual vehicle behavior. So they help to analyze very small changes in the traffic stream over time and space. They talk about the aggregate behavior and they talk about the minute aspects of the traffic. The microscopic model include the parameters such as driver behavior, vehicle location, distance headways, time headways, velocity and accelerations of individual vehicle. But in the macroscopic, these all are considered in average, not at the individual level. Now we will see clear distinction between this macroscopic and microscopic approach. So in microscopic approach, a certain quantity of matter is considered without taking into account the event occurring at the molecular level. But here the effect of molecular motion is also considered. The analysis is mainly concerned about the overall behavior of the system. Here in the microscopic approach, we are mainly concerned about the individual behavior of the system. Here the overall behavior is important, and here we will see the changes at the individual level. The macroscopic approach requires few properties to describe the system. The microscopic approach requires large numbers of variables to describe the system. In the macroscopic approach, the properties of the system are their average values, and in the microscopic approach, the properties are defined for each molecule individually. The macroscopic approach requires simple mathematical formulas for analyzing the system, whereas microscopic approach requires an advanced statistical and mathematical methods to explain any change in the system. So I hope all the different types of mathematical model is clear after watching this video. Now I will end this lecture over here. Thank you.